Tuesday, June 3rd, Duval City Council meeting to order. If you would all please rise to join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Okerlander.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mercer.
Here.
Mr. Olin.
Here.
Mr. Schaefer.
Here.
Ms. McHenry.
Here.
Mr. Supple.
Here.
Ms. Naplin.
Here.
Ms. Kupel.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve this evening's agenda? So moved. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And with that, we have 3 proclamations this evening. I will read each one into the record. The first one is for Pride Month. Whereas since its inception in 1970, Pride Month has been celebrated each June to honor the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in New York City and to recognize the contributions of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and other marginalized communities to our society. And whereas Pride Month is a celebration of the rich diversity and resilience of the LGBTQIA+ community, it commemorates past struggles for equal rights and shines a light on ongoing efforts to achieve fairness and justice for all, emphasizing the unique value each individual brings to our society. And whereas the City of Duval values the inherent dignity of every individual and recognizes that our community is stronger, healthier, and more vibrant when every person is treated with respect, equality, and compassion. And whereas, despite considerable progress in civil rights, members of the LGBTQIA+ community still face discrimination, harassment, and violence, and our city remains committed to fostering a welcoming and inclusive environment where all can thrive. And whereas the City of Duval joins cities and towns nationwide in celebrating Pride Month, reaffirming its commitment to equality, embracing diversity, and ensuring every resident can live openly and authentically. Now, therefore, I, Amy Okerlander, Mayor of the City of Duval, do hereby proclaim June 2025 as Pride Month in the City of Duval. I encourage all residents not only to participate in events and activities promoting understanding and acceptance, but also to reach out to members in the LGBTQIA+ community to bridge any gaps and help make our community a more inclusive place for all. The next proclamation I have is for Flag Day. Whereas Flag Day commemorates the adoption of the Stars and Stripes as the official flag of the United States of America on June 14th, 1777, and serves as a symbol of our nation's unity, values, and freedom. Whereas the flag embodies the principles of liberty, justice, and democracy for which generations of Americans have stood and sacrificed. And whereas the City of Duval honors the bravery and dedication of our service members, veterans, and all those who have upheld and defended the ideals represented by our flag. And whereas displaying the flag and observing Flag Day reminds us of our shared responsibility to uphold the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution. And whereas residents of Duval are encouraged to display the American flag at their homes, businesses, and public buildings on Flag Day and throughout the year as a testament to national pride and remembrance. Now, therefore, I, Amy Okerlander, Mayor of the City of Duval, do hereby proclaim June 14th, 2025 as Flag Day in the City of Duval. I urge all residents to observe this day with patriotic ceremonies and appropriate activities that honor the American flag and its values. And the final proclamation I have to read into the record this evening is Finance and Accounting Appreciation Week. Whereas the financial health and transparency of our city are vital to ensuring the trust of residents and the responsible use of public resources. And whereas the finance and accounting professionals of the City of Duval play a critical role in maintaining the city's fiscal integrity, preparing accurate and timely budgets, managing payroll and utility billing, producing essential financial reports, and ensuring compliance with state and federal regulations. And whereas their work directly supports city departments, community events, public infrastructure, and long-term strategic planning that benefits all who live and work in Duval. And whereas these dedicated individuals demonstrate a high level of professionalism, attention to detail, and commitment to public service every day. And whereas it is fitting and proper to recognize and celebrate the contributions of our finance department to the overall success and well-being of the city. Now, therefore, I, Amy Okerlander, Mayor of the City of Duval, do hereby proclaim June 9th to 13th as Finance and Accounting Appreciation Week in the City of Duval. I encourage all residents, city staff, and elected officials to join in recognizing and thanking the finance professionals whose dedication ensures that Duval remains a well-managed and fiscally responsible city. And I also want to, since we do have our finance director, Beth McMinn here, I want to recognize her and her team for extraordinary work in her time here. We've already had clean audits. She's just finished her second year-end financial report, which is a major lift that all local governments have to submit. It's a very rigorous process, and she does it extraordinarily well with her and her team. So thank you, Beth, for everything you do for us. And with that, we'll move on to comments from the audience. And before we begin comments, I will attempt to read this into the record without my reading glasses. During the designated public commentary period within city council meetings, individuals are allotted a 3-minute speaking duration, while representatives of organizations may address the council for up to 5 minutes. Before presenting, thank you, kindly disclose your full name and city of residence. Each speaker and all remarks shall be addressed to the city council as a body and not to individual members of the council or staff. It is strongly advised by the city to submit verbal comments in written form to expedite subsequent correspondence. Written comments must be received by the city clerk's office by noon on the meeting day, addressed to P.O. Box 1300 Duval, Washington 98019, or deposited at the City Hall drop box located at 15535 Main Street Northeast, or by email. Please be aware that the City Council, its boards, and its commissions solely entertain public comments from attendees present at the meeting in person. The council does not accept handouts or printed material during public commentary sessions. Information intended for the mayor or the city council shall be directed to the city clerk, who will disseminate it following the submitter's instructions. Upon receipt, the city clerk will receive written public comments and subsequently furnish them to the city council or the relevant board or commission. However, it's important to note that written comments will not be orally presented during the council or applicable board or commission meetings. Any written comments received after the new deadline for written comments will be shared with the council at the next council meeting as part of the city clerk's report. And with that, I would also like to make one note that we also have 3 public hearings on the agenda this evening. So if you're here to speak to the 6-year transportation improvement program, the comprehensive plan amendments, or the sign code update, that time will be during the public hearings, and that this public comment is for anything else you would like to speak to. So we do have one person signed in for public comment this evening, and I'll call that individual to the podium. It's Mr. Darren Bennett from the Cedar Crest Mountain Bike Club. You'll have 5 minutes to share with an organization.
Good evening, council members and those that have chosen to participate tonight. I appreciate seeing everyone here. My name is Darren Bennett. I am a resident of Duval. I represent the Cedar Crest Mountain Bike Club. We are an organization in the city that has a mission to promote life skills through development of coaching and helping the youth in our community and generate a love for cycling, specifically mountain biking. We are open to all students of all identities, 6th through 12th grade, that live within the Riverview School District, public, private, or whatever. I wanted to say first, most of my comments over the past few months have been related to Duval open space, and I want to continue to thank Steve for his ongoing contact regarding that, and staying up to date on what is going on for the city in terms of progressing with that. It sounds like there's been some grants applied for and the potential of something. So we're really appreciative of that and looking forward to what Duval open spaces can be for a trail system. I did want to come here tonight just to talk about the actual organization. We had a really great season this year. We had 42 students participate, and those were actually 5th grade to 11th grade. Washington Student Cycling League allowed for 5th graders as a trial run. We had one 5th grader. Unfortunately, he suffered an accident, so he wasn't able to fully participate, but he was at all the races and cheered on the team the whole time. So really happy about that. We had 38 volunteer coaches, so almost a 1-to-1 ratio in that. Without these individuals, we can't do what we do. So I want to really say thank you to all those volunteers that are from our community. We had 4 races that a number of our students participated in, did really well. We had a number of 2nd places, 5th places, 8th places. Really want to congratulate the student riders on that. We just had state last weekend. We had 11 participants qualify for state, and had a couple of them, had one get 2nd and one get 5th. So podium places. So really proud of those students. They put a lot of work into what they do, and want to say thank you to them. One of the things I do as part of being a coach is I'm a trail steward lead. So I look for opportunities to work with the different land managers to help them maintain the trails. And we're giving back as an organization, as a community organization, to these trails to volunteer our hours to do this. We had 2 good opportunities during the spring. The first one was an actual trail school that Evergreen Bike provided. We got the chance to go out with 4 students and 6 coaches to Tennant Park in North Bend and put in 4 hours of good solid work rebuilding some of the features that are out there. The second opportunity was up on Tiger Mountain. There's a trail called Side Hustle that is very popular and was damaged during the November storms. It took a month and a half to log out all the trees that had fallen from that November storm, and it damaged a number of the trail features. So we got to, again, spend half a day up there helping rebuild the trails. Again, another great example of what we can do for the community and help out. That kind of summarizes what we did for spring. I want to say that we're looking forward to fall, and obviously continued partnerships with the city. Looking forward to what Duval Open Spaces can be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone who has not signed in for public comment that would like to speak? And if so, you're welcome to approach the podium. All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Now we'll move on to scheduled items. Mayor's report is first. I'm sure City Administrator McNabb is going to mention it, but this weekend is Duval Days. And so very excited about that. Looks like we're going to have great weather, so hope to see everybody in town having a good time. Other than that, the Association of Washington Cities Executive Committee is meeting tomorrow in advance of our June board meeting, coming up in just a few weeks. I'll be completing my term as Association of Washington Cities President. Looking forward to that meeting and the conference and all of the folks from the city that are going to be able to attend and those that will be there in spirit. I know there's a couple of folks that really wanted to go that couldn't swing it for family reasons. And just really starting to reflect quite a bit on the year that has been and just what an important part of our community's AWC is, even when many people don't even know what the organization is or does. They support our cities and towns like no one else. And they're, I really believe, the best league of cities in the entire country. So that will conclude my report for tonight. I'll keep it short. We have a long agenda, and I'll turn it over to City Administrator McNabb for the City Administrator's report.
Good evening, everyone. Calling in from Denver. So thank you for letting me come live from my hotel room. we'll bring up the city administrator report and begin with, I believe the first slide deck is from our Public Works Director. Next slide.
Good evening, council, mayor, staff, citizens, Steve Lenashevsky, Public Works. Now, I don't know if you did or did not hear, but we currently have the depot closed. We had a water line break in one of the restrooms. So there is some, not only staining, but there is some water damage to the. With our insurance carrier turned in that claim and. After a remediation group come to these guys. Tomorrow or Thursday? Duval days, I skipped ahead. Yeah, a lot of preparation is going on. We have staff working OT to help get everything organized for the event. We did work with WashDOT, so they will be here to control the signal to move a couple of the phases off so people don't get stacked up. Waiting for a phase that's not going to happen when the road is closed between Main Street and Virginia, all the way to 143rd. Next slide. Judd Park, so the masts and foundations are installed for the cover area of the playground. Final measurements had to be taken once the poles were actually up, so the sail material should be here in the next 3 weeks. We had a follow-up meeting with King County Parks for Big Rock Park. There is not new programming that they were excited to share with us. If the levy does pass, they do expect some discretionary funds per district, so we could work with Sarah Perry's office on moving forward for something that would be helpful for our construction project for phase 2, and that's to be determined and more to come. Next slide. We received, it's not bad news, it's not good news, but it's not great news. So we received some information from Transportation Improvement Board this week, so TIB. We are now in a different pool of valued cities. So our grant match goes up. It used to be 15%, and now it will be 20%. It is based on the citywide assessed value, which did click 2.5 million. And they use the 2023 data for this year. 2024 data did drop below 2.5, so we'll hope to get that moved back. But for the time being, our grants, if we are awarded any this year, we won't have a 15% match, we'll have a 20% match. So just sharing. Next slide. Miller Street, just east of, it's off of 3rd Avenue, south of Kennedy. So grant was applied for this last week through King County Flood Reduction. Storm work for Miller Street, that originally was street side ditches and driveways with cross culverts, and over the 35 years since its construction, they've been filled in and there's a lot of storm issues. So there's flooding issues on the surface, there's pipe issues below the surface, there's drainage issues all over the place. So we have a $426,000 estimate and a $250,000 grant ask that would be paid for by the storm fund. We won't know for a few months, but we're usually pretty successful in that grant program. And we do have resources in the storm funds to move forward. 426 is soft costs and construction. So we're about 350 in construction at this point, but it's very early in the estimate. Last slide for Public Works, next slide. Our city administrator asked me to bring back the Big Rock AED. So what we provided is cost estimates to actually install one, should council choose to advise us to do so. So the AED itself is $1,250. That's the same style we have everywhere else for inventory control and management. Would come with pediatric pads. It's an extra. There is also the need for a case. Just so you're aware, we don't have anything up there to protect it security wise, so there is a little risk. But long-term management, right? We'd have to inspect it monthly, do the reporting for the AED itself, battery replacement every 4 years unless it faults earlier, and then pads are 2 years, and then obviously if it disappears, you would need to replace it. We should and could consider adding some cameras, a case with an alarm, and then some additional lighting. The light that's on the corner of the building there, right under the gable end, could be switched out fairly inexpensively and effectively to help just keep eyes on it and point some light down at it, but that is 2330, so I was asked to bring it back, and there you go. Cynthia, would you like to add to that, or?
I
Any other
don't think
questions?
so. I think that's fairly comprehensive. Are there any questions for Director Lanishevsky?
Councilmember Naflin and then McHenry.
Yeah, I was just curious, when I brought forward the AED, I had mentioned the Nick of Time Foundation and that they have for outdoor installations, the Save Station, which is kind of has the camera, the alarm, the outdoor, you know, kind of it's meant to be outdoors, so that with the weather, it would withstand it. And so I'm just curious, is that what this is for?
That's an additional, it's a different cost.
Okay, did we connect with the Nick of Time?
I did not direct Luke to do that.
Okay, because they were waiting to actually hear from the city, because I had mentioned that, because I think that they potentially would partner and have funding. I don't know exactly how they operate, but that was kind of my ask, is that we could check into that, with the Nick of Time, because they're experienced in installing these. And anyway, I was hoping we could do that. I don't know if that's something we can still do at this point.
I'll leave that
Well, I'll
to
respond to that.
Discretion. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Yeah, so at this point, we weren't directed by the full council to explore this idea. But should the full council want to move forward, at this point, we provided funding costs. We can either do this through the mid-biennium budget. Council can direct us to look into, you know, if council wants to move forward, we'd certainly look for opportunities to partner with other organizations or to defray the cost of this. So at this point, from the city administration perspective, we're asking council if they would like to move forward with pursuing this at Big Rock.
Before we get to that, Councilmember Naflin, you've already asked a question and a follow-up, so I'm gonna go to Councilmember McHenry.
Follow-up.
You actually did ask a follow-up, Councilmember
I'm
Naflin.
not finished with what I wanted to say, though.
Excuse me, you finished a follow-up and a question. Now I'm going to Councilmember McHenry per the council procedures that this council voted on to approve.
So I just wanted to say, I think regardless of the source, it seems like a pretty low cost to the city, you know, if by chance it could save a life someday. So regardless of what source staff looks into and finds, this price point to me seems very reasonable. Again, you could look into the other thing too, if that's, you know, something they want to go down, a road they want to go down, but I think I'm totally in support of this price point. Anything under $5 grand, I think getting one up there, I would be in support of.
Thank you. And I would also say that the city administrator and public works director know I'm fully in support of this. Are there any objections to moving forward with this proposal? Councilmember
I
Schaefer.
have not an objection question. If we could, I'd like to hear what Jennifer, has to, add to this.
She
before we
has
move forward.
spoken twice, so now it's up to the council. If council wants to
Okay,
speak,
I'd
if
like
council
that.
wants to, council has to approve. If council does not want to, allow further discussion on this by a council member that's already spoken twice, that's up to council.
That's coming to you.
It is this, Councilmember Naflin, do we need to bring up the procedures and read them aloud? Sure. You have the procedures here. In fact,
Well, while we do that, can the council,
so Councilmember Schaefer, you can go, and are there any council members that would like to speak to this? Councilmember Mercer.
I mean, again, I don't have any objections. I think and even sort of the additional discussion, my perspective is that should be part of the going forward investigations. Don't know that we necessarily need to have more conversation. I'm comfortable with the recommendation under 5,000. We explore other options as part of that, and then the final product is brought back to council.
All right, so the rules say clarifications on the 2 questions rule. Council passed an agenda bill in 2024 to allow each member to ask a direct question and ask a clarifying question to staff's responses. Councilmember Naflin asked 2 questions. To set questions
Per
per round, yes. So the question to council was, were there any objections to this? Did anybody else want to speak to it? Then if council wants to allow Councilmember Naflin to speak again, that council needs to reach consensus to that. This is less than a $3,000 order. I think we've had clear direction from the city administrator, so it's up to council if you want to spend time discussing this or move on to the next item. Councilmember Warren?
I don't know that we need more discussion. I support what Councilmember Mercer said. I'm also looking at that as we need to look at it.
All right, and I'm seeing heads here, so we'll go ahead and move on to the rest of the report. Thank you.
All right, next up is community development, and I can't, excuse me, I can't really see who's in the audience. I'm happy to do this unless we have someone from community development who would like to present the community development department's update. All right, I will do it. Oh, wait.
Cynthia, I'm here. Brian Taylor, building official.
Oh, great. Fabulous. Go ahead.
I'll read it off. All right, staff meeting. Director Thomas is on vacation from May 30th through June 20th. Our permit technician we have one of our permit technicians out on leave. So that leaves us with one technician at the front. June 3rd through June 20th, Troy Davis is the contact for planning. And then myself is the contact for building. Maddie and Melanie assist with the permit processing for. Next slide. So here is our graph of permits issued. As you can tell, we have an increase of permits. We issued 7 new building permits this month alone, and well over 300 inspections. Next slide. And there's the inspections, and we're just climbing as it goes up. We have roughly around 47 new building permits, new SFRs that we have issued this year alone, and the increase in inspections due to the 2024 number, which is well over 100. Next slide, please.
I can talk about.
Yeah, you don't mind, not long range, that'd be great.
Cynthia, I'm tag teaming Brian here. I'm gonna step in for long range if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Naomi.
No problem. Hi, everybody. Naomi, Senior Planner, here with Community Development, Mayor and Council, and members of the audience. Long range planning, lots of pretty colors. Each one of those boxes represents a separate project that one member of our team is assigned to a number of them. So we split the workload. That's just to give you sort of a visual. It's hard to show pictures of the work that we do because it's a lot of reading and writing and researching. Next slide. And it doesn't end there. We have more. So we have plenty of long range planning projects that we split up between us. I can say that in our field, this is not normal to have these many long range projects. Each one of those boxes represents meetings, potentially hearings, public notice, lots of work. So next slide. I think that's it. All right.
Thank you, Brian and Naomi. I appreciate it. Is there any questions for the community development department that council would like to ask at this time?
Not seeing any. We'll go on to
Okay.
the city clerk and finance department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, John Botero, City Clerk. Very briefly, as we mentioned before, we were talking on deploying new mobile devices using FirstNet. We have kind of set up a date with FirstNet for deployment for August 4th and 5th. We're still working on the specifics, but once we get all of that nailed down, we'll provide more information, not only obviously to staff, but also to council. And we're also working on giving a very good, thorough cleanup to the city clerk's office webpage to provide more detailed information. Sometimes too much information can be a bad thing, so we're trying to narrow it down to something that is actually useful. And that people will find better for whenever they need something from the city clerk's office. So that and a few other things we're working on, but we'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Beth?
Hi, good evening, Beth McMinn, Finance Director. The finance team has completed the very detailed and long work of putting together the city's annual financial report and submitted that to the state auditor's office. The detailed report, there's a copy available in the written reports for the packet tonight. We have been given an estimate for our next audit by the state auditor's office. It's estimated to be scheduled for the fall of 2025, and that will be just for the 2024 year. So we're hoping this will be a much easier audit. Our audit this past year was for the 2 years, the 22-23. So we're very excited to get back to just having 1 year audits. That's it.
Thank you, Beth. Any questions for John or for Beth?
Seeing none.
Okay, well, I have a fairly quick update because I know we have a very long agenda. So the first thing, I want to congratulate our Public Works team. We did our WCIA audit last week, passed easily, and we have no management findings or recommendations for improvements to our Public Works program, and they cover the gamut between sidewalks, sewer, everything that the Public Works Department touches. So really successful audit this year. We have a very rough commitment that our percentage increase for rates will likely be less than last year, though we won't know this projection until late summer after the WCIA board adopts their baseline percentage increase. We'll find out what the specific Duval increase is, likely in August or September. Last Friday, I met with the Historical Society to discuss our Washington Board of Tourism grant and what we'll use those funds for, which will be a harvest festival and farm passport. It's tentatively, though somewhat firmly, scheduled for the weekend of September 12th. We're gonna have a lot of activities planned. We are going to plant at Doherty Farm, pumpkins, I can't remember what other fruits and vegetables, with an idea to have a farm produce swap. There's also going to be square dancing and a jug band and a million other ideas. That group is really excited about this project, and we're excited too. The plan is to have the farm passport and a flyer all done and ready for the August 9th Summer Stage concert, so we can announce it and hand out the farm passport to people that come to that Summer Stage concert. I continue to be involved, including today, in the Snoqualmie Valley Tourism Leadership Group. I'm on a special committee for the Snoqualmie Valley Heritage Trail Program in partnership with also the Duval Historical Society, as well as the Snoqualmie Valley Historical Society. So right now we're mapping the Snoqualmie Valley Trail and building the foundation to create a comprehensive online trail program that specifically identifies in every city not only our heritage sites, our environmental sites, historical sites, but businesses and other opportunities for tourism along the Snoqualmie Valley Trail in each city. This week, Naomi and I begin our legal internship that we're doing together with Seattle University. We're focusing on our code enforcement section of the municipal code, as well as building a series of templates and procedural items to improve code enforcement activities in Duval, making it easier for everyone to understand our code enforcement efforts. And then finally, Councilmember McHenry and I met with representatives from the Snoqualmie Tribe, the Lummi Tribe, City of Carnation, and the Boys and Girls Club of Snohomish County to discuss the feasibility of a Duval Carnation Boys and Girls Club. Those discussions will continue to evolve, and when we know more, we will be happy to report back. And with that, I think that's it, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Not seeing any questions. Thank you, City Administrator McNabb, and huge congratulations to Director Lenishevsky and his team on the Clean WCA audit. That does not happen very often, that there aren't at least recommendations. So that speaks volumes to the work that they've been doing to make sure that we are in compliance and reducing legal risk through our maintenance and operations and cataloging of all of our facilities here in the city of Duval. That is not a small feat. So thank you, Director Lenishevsky and staff. Now we move on to council reports. Do any council members have things they'd like to share? I'll start with Councilmember Henry and go to Councilmember Naplin and then Mayor Pro Tem Mercer.
Super quick point of privilege to anyone standing. There are some seats on the around the corner. If you want to sit down, just I want to point that out. It's a long time to stand. The only thing I have is just to let council know I was appointed as the vice president of CGA, Snoqualmie Valley Governors Association. I did not go in anticipating that. It was, you know, call for nominations, a quiet room, and then the deputy mayor incarnation saying, hey, why don't you do it? So, you know, it's one more thing, but having president be Jolie Williams from Snoqualmie Tribe, she's amazing and promised that most of the work, you know, gets handled by her staff. And so it'll be very difficult for me, but happy to do it.
Thank you. Councilmember Naplin.
Yeah, I just wanted to use my council report to say what I wanted to say earlier. So after we had appointed our last open position for council, one of the candidates who was not chosen mentioned to me that the Snoqualmie Tribe often looks for opportunities like outdoor AEDs, things that are used by the community as you know, for grant funding or just donations to different municipalities. So I just wanted to bring that up. I had mentioned it to City Administrator McNabb a while back. I wasn't sure if that was something that we could look into. Such a low amount of money. But anyway, it's always nice to partner with other organizations. And it sounded like that was something that they frequently like to get involved in. Donations. So I wanted to bring that up out of possible budget. So I would like to see that sooner rather than later.
Council has already approved the purchase, so it's up to our Public Works Department and how fast that gets done. Thank you for the information. Mayor Pro Tem Mercer.
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back. We had our council retreat on May 24th. I wanted to sort of thank the clerk's office for helping set it up. City Administrator McNabb gave a presentation on sort of financial strategic planning. Again, appreciate her coming out, and I think it helped us get aligned a little bit as we look forward in terms of some of the financial challenges in both the mid biennium and then the next budget cycle. Beyond that, the broader council, I think we had a robust conversation around roles and responsibilities. We got an opportunity to practice a little bit of the Jurassic Parliament, and then we delve into some of the council procedures. Again, thanks to the council for coming out early, allocating 4 hours of your Saturday to do that. But again, I just wanted to sort of reach out to staff and thank for their assistance in getting things set up and sort of moving the conversation forward. I think it will precipitate some action sort of in the coming weeks as we look back into council procedures. But again, I think it was a good discussion and hope everyone sort of got something out of the time.
One more thing.
Councilmember Schaefer and then McHenry.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. We typically don't get quite this many people to come to our council meetings, but very much appreciate everyone's attendance. The second thing is flower plots back on Main Street. Steve, I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but it is wonderful to see those that were a big hit last year. I'm sure they're going to be just as good, if not better, this year. So thanks.
You, Councilmember McHenry.
Mine was just a response to Mayor Pro Tem Mercer's report, and I just wanted to thank him for putting together that retreat. I should have written down what I was gonna say. I meant to do that. Having done it, you know, in the last few years myself, like I understand how much work you put into that. It was amazing to walk in and have everything laid out. You had all these activities planned. So I just want to thank you so much for planning all that for us. And I think it was really helpful.
Right, thank you. Sorry, the child is scared at home right now. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to written reports and planning calendar. I don't think we need to go over that, unless council wants to. So we'll go ahead and move on to start with, our presentations. The first is an interlocal agreement with Woodinville Fire and Rescue. Yeah, first.
There we go. All right, it's with the mayor. Oh, with the mayor, but,
Yeah.
uh,
Pass the gavel, so you were.
Perfect.
Start.
there we go. Good evening, everyone. Brian Taylor again, building official, here to co-present, the, amendments to the fire, interlocal agreement. I have here Jamie, who is the deputy director. We also have Chief, Lane. And then Jeremy, is one of our fire marshals. And with that, I'm gonna let Jamie go ahead and start, and then I'll jump in.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, Mayor, council, staff, and community members. I'm Jamie Parmisano. As Brian mentioned, during the presentation today, you'll hear about Woodinville's longstanding partnership with the city of Duval, as well as the collaborative approach with staff to update the ILA for fire marshal services. And a big thank you to Brian, Laura, city administrator, who helped us through this process. By the end of the presentation, you should feel confident that your community is receiving expert services by a team committed to safety and professionalism. So this updated agreement reflects our shared growth, aligns costs with services delivered, and ensures that the city continues to receive high-quality fire marshal services well into the future. So next slide, please. So how did we get here? A little bit of background, and because there's a couple of entities at play, for consistency's sakes, when I say the city, I'm referring to the city of Duval, Woodinville Fire and Rescue, and the district is Duval Fire District 45. So in 2019, the city reached out to Woodinville for fire marshal services because at the time, the district didn't have that expertise in-house. So an interlocal agreement was created and it was successful. At the time, there was one assistant fire marshal providing quarterly inspections for permitted occupancies and a small handful of plan reviews. Today, actually since October of 2021, through Woodinville's contract for service with Eastside Fire and Rescue, the city has received expanded services with additional staff and technical expertise. So our fire marshal office is a team of 6 with over 170 years of collective experience. We have one of those experts here, Fire Marshal Jeremy Hicks, which I'd like to bring up, and he'll share a little bit about the services that we provide to the community.
Thank you. Good evening, council, community. Thanks for having me here today. For the record, Jeremy Hicks, Fire Marshal, Eastside Fire and Rescue South Division. And I wanted to highlight the services that the deputy director was talking about that the city of Duval's receiving, and which says expanded. Eastside Fire and Rescue provides a full service fire marshal office. And that means that we do from basically the beginning that somebody walks in your office and says, I have plans, to when they're getting the key to their house or their key to their business. And this covers basically the pre-application process that people go through. We have representation there to review and get them set up for success when they submit their permit packet. We start with the plan review. When it's given to the city of Duval, we get the plan review and we start plan review jointly with them. We also schedule all of the inspections and all the phone calls and all the meetings related around the fire. And then we do the final sign-offs and the inspections for those different permits, whether it's a fire sprinkler permit, fire alarm permit, a building, a commercial building, a residence, we do all of that. In addition to that, we also do crew level inspections, so every one of your businesses gets inspected. And then we also, the fire marshal's office also does what we call operational permit inspections. Those are the higher risk category operations, fueling stations, assembly structures, stuff like that. We go in and we do their inspections. We give code assistance and code interpretation. We work very closely with your building official, probably on a daily basis, to help out with any fire code assistance. And then we also, as you'll probably see us here this weekend, we're doing the Duval days. So we come out and do the inspections in the morning. And then we also have to do the fireworks inspections at night. So we come back for that. Some numbers to help out with this is starting back in 2023, the new construction inspections that we were doing was about 70 a year. 2024, that went to 156. As of today, we're at 45. Now, inspections ebb and flow with plan review, right? You have to have plan review before you can build a building and have inspections. So some plan reviews that we did, 94, 2023, 96 in 2024, but we're already at 78 today. Actually, as of the 1st of June, 78. So we're probably going to double that by the end of the year. Operational inspections, we have 27 businesses that we special inspect that generates 36 operational permits, and then the business inspections that our crews do is 189 inspections. So as you can see here, as development grows or comes into your community, so do the services that we provide. These all have to be reviewed, they all have to be signed off, they all have to be inspected, and they all have to be maintained for years to come. So as your community grows, the fire marshal's office needs to grow and the services need to grow. So I'm happy to report that we're doing that. And I want to thank you for the partnership that we have with Eastside Fire. And then I'll pass it back to Jamie. Wait for questions.
Back to Brian.
Yeah, pass it back, Brian. Next slide, please. Okay, so here are the summary of some changes to the existing ILA. The authority and delegation part, we streamlined that to clarify delegation to the fire chief under the IFC and DMC codes and city authority for enforcement. The section under permit fees and capital recovery, we changed it to implement city administrative fees and realign reimmittance of fees for the services provided. The annual fee review, joint annual review with city staff, inspection methods. They clarified the crew level inspections, the business self-inspections, and then the fire marshal inspections. Code violation notification, we updated to current practice to include electronic notification. Previously it was all permit or paper. Plan review, we added in language for the timelines for the 21 day review period and coordinate points established. Next slide, please. The benefits of these changes. Clear accountability for fire marshal services. And they align with current operational practices. It's more transparent and data-driven free process. It's visible. And then increased collaboration with staff, which was mentioned. Next slide, please. Implementation now, a little bit overlap. For efficiencies, we have, as you know, OpenGov now for permit software. which helps streamline intake routing and review. So city staff still intakes and routes it to East Side Fire for review. And then it's great to have them for an added member to the DRC review committee. Like Jeremy mentioned, work very closely with fire marshal and staff when it comes to land entitlement, first projects. It's very helpful to have that knowledge. And then we're implementing the brick and mortar, as they mentioned, the company level inspections, IFC plan review, sprinklers, fire alarm. Jeremy gave you the numbers of how many. And then a big benefit that I see from a city staff side is that we no longer have to take in any of the inspection requests for fire. So that is done by the district, which is it's huge. So it helps us out quite a bit. Next slide, please.
So what are next steps? So we're bringing this in front of you this evening for the first reading and any feedback, questions. We're also bringing it to Woodinville Board of Commissioners next week. So it's a little roadshow for us for this presentation. And then second reading in July for both City Council and the Board of Commissioners. And the effective date once approved by both governing bodies. So next slide, please. That's one of our amazing assistant fire marshals, Mark Young. And with that, thank you for your time. We're happy to answer any questions.
Does council have any questions? Councilmember Schaefer.
And this is not really a question, more of a statement. We talked about benefits a little bit, but of course, the biggest and most obvious benefit is the fire marshal program, the inspections and those services save lives. And that's, of course, your main purpose. And that's, I think, the main benefit we get from this. Quite often we take these kinds of things for granted. You go back decades or, back in our history, building fires and loss of life was much more common than it is today. And that's in large part to thank what you guys do. So thank you.
Councilmember Napoli.
Yeah, when East Side Fire took over to contact for Duval Fire, there was concern in the community that there would be an increase in cost for inspections and all of those public services. And so I was just wondering if that's something that you could answer. Is there a price difference from, what, businesses and individuals have been paying in 2024 now and going forward?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So predominantly with permit fees, the city of Ball has always had a fee schedule. As you heard, the last time the ILA was updated was like 2019, and the fees were probably even before that. The fees, when we did our fee structure for the new permit fees, we did it based on the work that was being done, the time it took to do the work, and what the end result is of the permit. So basically start to finish of what the permit was. So are the fees different, or you've already approved the fee structure that's already in your council or in the city. We're not changing that fee at all. That's going to stay what you've already done. What we've committed to doing is saying, okay, instead of having that big gap of 5 years of doing the permit fee review, is every year we're going to come back with the analytics and say, here's how many permits we did. Here's how much it costs to do it. Here's how much time it took. Because things change. I mean, hopefully new programs will help do permit review faster. New inspection techniques. The things that work against us are new legislative requirements of what we have to do. Middle housing is a perfect example of something that wasn't on the radar last year, and it is now. So a short answer to your question, are permits changing for what you have now? No, you've already adopted that. We want to make sure that we consistently review that every single year so that gap doesn't get back to where it was. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that presentation. Ryan, did you have anything to add in closing?
Nope,
Thank
we're good.
you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up, we have one of my favorite activities, and that's swearing in our new police officer.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and those of in attendance, especially people from the Duval Police Department. Yeah, can you move forward, please? There you go. It's my pleasure to introduce Ian Kozak. He was born in Singere, Republic of Moldova. When Ian was in the 6th grade, he attended wrestling sport boarding school in Chisinau. Correct me if I'm wrong, so that's good. Moldova, where he graduated in 2008. In September of 2008, Kozak studied economic science as part of a baccalaureate degree program that allowed him to study in the United States. He was awarded a bachelor's degree in June of 2011. While in school, Ian met his wife, Diana, and they married in June of 2014. In May of 2009, Ian was appointed as a police officer in the Police Generale Inspectorate, Police Special Operations Brigade in Moldova. And the unit was heavily involved in fighting crime against terrorism and hostage rescue missions. And Ian continued his education from 2011 to 2013, was awarded a master's degree in economic science, public finance, and taxation. In 2017, he received a master's degree in political science, public administration and management, and he worked for the Custom and Border Service of the Republic of Moldova until 2018. 2018, Ian and his family immigrated to the United States, living first in Massachusetts, then in Washington. And he's held several wrestling coaching positions locally, I think some at Cedar Crest High School. And was hired as a police officer at Bellevue Police prior to coming to Duval. And so I'd like to introduce you to Ian. Who else is here with you today?
Oh, thank you for introducing me, sir. That was so much details. I have my wonderful family, my wife Dana and my daughter Linda and Taya. Yeah, and I'm honored to be here.
Mayor, it's your turn.
You'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I am Kozak,
I am
do solemnly swear
to solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I am faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of police officer
perform the duty of police officer
for the city of Duval
for the city of Duval
as prescribed by law
as prescribed by law
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Duval Police Department's
the Duval Police Department
vision, mission, core values,
vision and core values
and the police officer's code of ethics,
and police officer code of ethics,
uphold the Constitution
for the Constitution
and laws of the United States of America,
and laws of the United States of America,
the state of Washington,
state of Washington,
and the ordinances of the city of Duval, so help me God.
and the ordinances of the city of Duval, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Your wife, becoming your back on?
Careful.
How are you doing then? Yeah.
Congratulations. All right, so now we'll move on to our 3 public hearings. I would like to only read the rules into the record once, for all 3 public hearings, and after I read the rules in, we'll open the first public hearing, we'll have a presentation. Those that are signed up to speak may do so. Once they're done with that topic, we will close that public hearing and move on to the second and then the third. Thank you, Mayor Burnham. In adherence to the regulations outlined for public hearings before the Duval City Council, Chapter 9 of the City Council Procedures Manual, any individual seeking to address the council during the designated public comment segment must comply with the following procedures. First, sign in on the provided form specific to the public hearing. And second, thoroughly complete all pertinent sections of the said form. Upon commencement of the hearing, as announced by the chair, typically the mayor, the city clerk will present the chair with a sign-in sheet. Subsequently, the chair will proceed with the agenda for the public hearing. Each speaker will be summoned to the podium in the order listed on the sign-in form, where they must communicate their name and, if relevant, their address, affiliation with any organization or group being represented, and their corresponding role or position within said organization or group. Time limits for speaking engagements are 3 minutes for individuals representing themselves and 5 minutes for those representing a group or organization, unless otherwise determined by a majority vote of the council present. The city clerk will monitor and enforce these time limits, setting a timer for each speaker. Comments should be pertinent to the subject matter of the public hearing and respectfully addressed to the city council, with personal remarks being deemed inappropriate. Disorderly conduct, including disruptive behaviors such as booing or harassment, will not be tolerated and may result in removal from the premises. Speakers may alternatively submit written statements, which will be added to the official record by the city clerk. Questions posed during the hearing will not be answered immediately, but may be addressed at the chair's discretion following the close of the comment periods. Copies of city council and Duval public hearing procedures will be available upon request and distributed to attendees at the outset of each public hearing session conducted by the Duval City Council. And with that, I would like to open the public hearing for the 2026 to 2031 6-year transportation improvement program with a presentation by Larissa Grindell, our city engineer. Good evening.
Mayor, council. I feel like I can sit here. This is going to be pretty quick. Next slide, please. So it's time to do our 6-year transportation improvement program project list again. We'll really briefly go over the TIP requirements, changes to the TIP since we just adopted our updated transportation plan, and then the updated list, and then the timeline. What are next steps? Next slide, please. So just really briefly, the 6-year TIP is required annually to be adopted and then sent to the Washington State Department of Transportation by July 1st. It's required to be supported by the transportation element of the comprehensive plan, which we're kind of in the gray area right now because we're updating our transportation plan or the comprehensive plan, which is where the element resides. And then it also identifies our transportation projects over the 20-year time period and the 6-year planning period. Next slide. So changes from last year's 25 to 2030 TIP, we updated project cost estimates. The identifiers changed. It's just a nomenclature thing. It's mostly for the mapping part of it. There's some examples of what they were and then what they changed to. And then the road projects changed as well, the identifiers. Next slide. So we also removed due to completion, 2nd Avenue extension from Northeast 143rd to Big Rock Road, connected the northern part of the bridge at Big Rock Phase 1 to 143rd. That final plat, I'm assuming, will be coming this summer. Added through comprehensive plan process. So we added a couple intersection improvements, one at the Cherry Valley Road and Main Street, an intersection improvement at Kennedy Drive and at Valley Street. We converted non-motorized programs, which was a bucket of programmatic projects that we could you know, develop, and we turn those into actual projects. Next slide. This is a snip of the project list. It looks really similar. The newest things being a couple of the one intersection and then some, the non-motorized is the biggest change. Next slide. Next slide. This is a map of the project list shows where, using the nomenclature where you can find the project in the city. Next slide. And then, this is our timeline. We are at our public hearing in June 3rd. And then, hopefully we will be able to adopt, tonight. If not, we will come back, at the next meeting, and then we will submit before July 1st, our adopted resolution. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Grindell. Clerk, did we have anyone sign in for a public hearing this evening?
We did not.
Okay. All right, but anyone here that did not sign up that is wishing to speak to this topic? Seeing none, the public hearing for the 6-year transportation improvement program is now closed. And we will open the public hearing for the 2024 comprehensive plan amendments with Naomi Montes de Oca, our senior planner, presenting.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. I'm going to go up and stand up there. Well, there's one up there. Okay, pardon me for 1 minute. Thank everybody for being here tonight, members of the audience. One thing that I want to make a correction to the record before I proceed with the presentation. Tonight is a presentation of the comprehensive plan periodic update. And it's just a matter of language. A comprehensive amendment is something that happens every year on a cycle. Of comprehensive plan periodic update only happens every 10 years. So this is the big one. And so I just wanted to add that to the record, and we can proceed. Next slide. So today what we're going to be doing is I'm going to present a brief overview of the different parts of the comprehensive plan. Then there will be, based on the rules that everybody just heard regarding the rules procedure for hearings, there will be public testimony. City Council will discuss, and then we'll go from there. Next slide. So I included this picture because this is how it began 2 years ago when I was trying to plan on how we were going to reach out to the public and how to explain physically the breadth of a comprehensive plan, which affects everything in the city, both on the ground and below the ground. So that was the first attempt. It's a very small attempt. Next slide. And then from there, we basically did a broad outreach to the public. We're going to go through these slides pretty quick. We just like to demonstrate some of the bigger things that we did for public outreach, which was letting people know we were beginning to work on this and providing a web page where people can go and get more information. Next slide. These two images, also one thing I'd like to add, if anybody would like any copies of any of these documents that you see snapshots on the PowerPoint, we can provide those documents to you. That was the results, snapshot results of the survey. We did one large public survey last year. We sent out invitations for people to take the survey in the utility mail. And so those were some of the results that we got from that public survey. Slide. The other thing that we did to get public feedback is we formed a temporary steering committee that focused on advising us on the very early stages of our draft comprehensive plan, which has multiple chapters in it. We invited anybody who was interested to apply and become a member of the steering committee. Once we had enough people and we chose the members that needed to be on the steering committee, we formed the steering committee, welcomed them, and then we had 4 meetings over the course of last year discussing different drafts of the comprehensive plan, the different sections of the comprehensive plan, and reported their feedback. Next slide. We also had a table at the Earth Day event last year, not this last one, but the one before then. And again, it was an experiment in helping younger members of the community engage and understand what comprehensive planning is. And so the best way to do that is to play, which is also great for adults as well. Next slide. We also experimented, this was just a beta test with the existing technology, being a small city. How do we get information out to people that maybe either cannot read or don't have time to read 500 pages of policy documents? And so we took summaries and worked with the free resources out there to create these podcasts to see if that would be helpful in getting information out to people so that they could listen to different subjects they were interested in while they were doing something else, like taking care of children, doing dishes, laundry, what have you, all the things that life demands of us. Next slide. We also had 2 open houses. The first open house was last year in May, and we did it in this room, put up the posters, had draft documents for people to look at and give us feedback. We collected feedback and added that to the development of the final document. Next slide. This time last year, we were at Duvalde's in front of City Hall asking people to describe to us what a small town feeling is to them. And then we took what they wrote down and we put it in the window for everybody to see so that it was a more fun way to talk about what the vision for the community is, because the comprehensive plan has to have a vision statement in the beginning of it. Where do you want to see the city go? And so to develop that vision statement, aside from working with City Council and Planning Commission, we also reached out to the public to give us an idea of what they felt that should be. Next slide. This is a result of some of the additional work. We put a lot of work into developing the vision statement. It is about a paragraph long, but it's very important and it has a lot of meaning for a lot of people. So we really wanted to make sure that it truly was down to the words, reflecting exactly what people were saying. Next slide. And then this was from this year's Earth and Arbor Day Festival. We have the comprehensive plan open house, the second one. We also tried to build by hand a topographically accurate map of the city, more or less, not super accurate, but we did get help from Public Works, a lot of help. And we're still building it, but the physical draft of our map is made of foam, so you can play with it. You can put trees and add things. And so we invited people in the community to play with our hands-on map. Next slide. And so you'll see this, there's a copy of what you're seeing on the screen at the entrance. All of the many folders makes up of all the work that we've done in the last few years. And I know some people prefer to look at a printed document. Don't worry, we only printed it one time for people to look at. So it's over there if you're interested in one specific thing, but we also have all this information online so you can scan different QR codes. Next slide. And so we call it an element. You'll hear that. That's when we refer to a topic as an element, that means it's like a chapter and it's focused on that idea, that topic. And so the land use element is the most important, arguably, because it includes discussion on how many people live in Duval now, based on math and census data. How many people do we think will be living in Duval in 10 years, 20 years? And usually those estimations, which come from the state, are more or less accurate. I say that because I asked that question. I wanted to know, so I can confidently say that they're pretty accurate. Population increase, just to clarify, doesn't mean a bunch of people get on a bus and suddenly move into Duval. Population increase has to do with families growing, kids growing up, wanting to stay here, somebody moving here, and then also the family members that are part of that family also move here because they want to be together. So it happens in a lot of different ways and it doesn't happen overnight. Next slide. Housing focuses on housing, and we refer to it as the housing element. And in that element, you'll see similar in each one of these chapters, You will see a brief discussion describing what it's supposed to do. You will see a section that talks about, you'll see the phrase goals and policies, and that's like broad in the next 20 years. This is the vision of what will happen with housing. Now, it's not made up or not just based on what people have told us. That what we have to start with is what the state law tells us, we must do this more or less. And then we go out to the public, the outreach that we just showed, and we ask you, okay, what's important to you? What information do you know about the community that we don't know? And what can you tell us? What do you want? What do you see? What are the issues? And we take that and we do our best to marry it to what we're required to do by the law. And voila, we have the goals and policies. That's what we try to do in there. So you'll see a little bit of discussion and you'll see these big statements. Next slide. Parks, also self-explanatory, parks, trails, and open space plan. We just finished that. That's it's more detailed. What are the parks like now? What do the parks need? What do we want to see in the parks in the future? What's the most important thing? We got all that public feedback, made a plan, and also a plan includes how much it's going to cost over time and what do we need to do for that. The parks element reflects all the work in the parks plan in which it describes the goals and policies in the next 20 years. This is what we want to see happen. Next slide. Economic development. In plain terms, economic development means businesses, people that want to open a business here, people that have at-home businesses, people, all the little businesses on the street. It's how does the city support businesses that come in? So an example of economic development and the way a city supports economic development is if you're a new business owner, you've never had a business before, you have to get permits. Maybe somebody is either selling or leasing a space where you want to have your store or your restaurant, and you have to get permits for those. So you come into the city and we help you with that and guide you through the process of doing all the right things and how to handle that because it can be stressful. So economic development that's part of it, is helping support businesses as they go through the regulatory process. But some of those are state requirements, not city requirements. Next slide. So transportation is also self-explanatory. Cars, bikes, walking, horses, everything you can imagine. And so in the future, how does somebody get from one part of Duval to the other? In the future, how do you leave Duval and how do you get back? And what is that like? And the safety involved in that. Also, what does the state want us to do? And the big thing that you'll see this phrase called multimodal transportation, which means more than a car, all the other ways. And how can you do that? And so it's the same as every other plan, like the Parks, Trails, and Open Space plan. We worked with consultants Transpo, and they do studies. They have these models, these math equations, where you plug in the numbers and then you project, okay, this is where we're at. This is where we have to be. This is what we'll probably be like in the future. So that means we have to plan for these things. So it's very straightforward. And if you really want to know more about what the future would look like for transportation here, and read more, just contact staff. Any of those QR codes will take you either to something you can listen to, something you can read, or if you want to do a lot of reading, a deeper document. Whatever is easier for you and what you prefer. Next slide. And capital facilities, another official word for all of the buildings and all of the different entities that provide services like police and fire and electricity and sewer treatment and picking up trash. All of those things, those buildings that have those things are the capital facilities. And so earlier when you're hearing some of my colleagues talk, when you take care of those things, it costs money because the building, you have a flood or you have something break or it just gets old and you have to paint it. This talks about, this is what the city is responsible for. Here are the people that we work with. These are the people that come in and provide services like Puget Sound Energy. And what do we need to do to make sure that these different things are working, that the buildings are working right, that people are always getting what they need. Also, it costs money. So you have to make a plan for that. Next slide. Environment is everything natural, trees, the water, the natural environment. And as we build our houses and we fix our parks and we make roads better, how do we do that without destroying the thing that many people told us in the surveys that they love so much? One of the things that they love so much in Duval is nature. So this talks about the environment and how do we take care of it while still growing. Also, like every other chapter, there are state laws that tell us to do these things. So, next slide. And so, written comments into public record, that's any comments that staff received between the time that we first put a notice telling the public we were doing this until now. There's 2 written comments that were entered into the record for the planning commission hearing. We have those as well. I can pass around the 2 copies of those comments. Since then, we have not received any other written comments. Staff just checked the mail. There's nothing in the mail, so that's all we have. And we can pass those around to city council after I'm done. Next slide. And what's going to happen next? Right now, the document the city council has in their packets and the document you see over there is still in draft. It's 99% done. But still at the end with a big document like that, you have to go through and make sure that everything is right. So that's what we're doing are the final corrections right now. And of course, if we get any comments, we have to look at those and consider them to see if there's any other additional changes that we have to make. Next slide. And this is the future land use map. Future land use map is not the zoning map. It's the map that says in the next 10 or 20 years, this is kind of not set in stone, but this is kind of where we want to see the city to go. So one color is more residential. So it's houses and apartments and all those different things. And another area is a different color, maybe what they call commercial. So that's the businesses. Because the goals, you know, there's certain types of things you don't want next to each other, like a vinegar factory next to a house. So that's why you see the color so that it's planned out. And that is also state law provides guidance for that as well. This is not permanent, but this is the idea, the concept, the vision, the long-term vision. Next slide. And we have to make a correction to the future land use map. That's changed back now. It's a property that isn't pertaining to any of the mobile home parks that anybody may live in. This is a separate property that has both apartments and a couple of mobile homes. But the mobile homes are rented out. It's not the same as a regular mobile park. So we just made that correction there. Next slide. So what's next? We have the hearings, there's discussion. The next time city staff will be talking about this will be at the planning commission meeting on June 11th. And that is where we will ask the planning commission to recommend adoption. At that point, we will have corrections to the document. It should be completely done. And then you say, yes, we recommend you adopt it. Adoption means it's official. It is now a part officially of what the city can talk about when somebody wants to build something later on. We can say, let's look at the comprehensive plan too. Does it look like what we should be doing? So if planning commission says, yes, we recommend, we will come back to mayor and council and request adoption. And that would be anticipated for June 17th. And that is all staff has, with the exception of one more thing I'd like to add. We do need to keep the hearing open, the record open, because we are still waiting for comments from the Washington State Department of Commerce. So we need to keep the record open. And then finally, and this is important, At first, when I made the slide, I wanted to make sure that we had everybody's names on there, and then I ended up having like 5 slides of names. So there's many people that have been involved in making this happen, including, we have Nicole Stickney in the back in the beautiful blue dress. She's the lead consultant with AHBL and was the one that was helping staff write and research thousands of papers. So, and of course, I'd like to thank, Mayor and Council and all of the staff that helped make this happen, because it does take a lot of little things that happen behind the scenes to bring something to this point. And of course, all of the members of the community that have provided feedback. And that concludes my presentation for the hearing.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And Clerk, do we have anyone sign up for public comment here?
We don't have a sheet.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to provide public comment at this hearing this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll put this public hearing on hold. Oh, do we have it?
Question, is this, consulting the mobile home park stuff? By, Big Rock?
Naomi, he was asking.
Oh, pardon me. Yes, it's the same subject that was at the planning commission meeting, the future land use map. The only changes that are being made, and I apologize for not saying that earlier, is that we're keeping the designation of a mobile home park into the future. Because some designations said residential, which meant in the future, when the zoning map, which is what we look at when somebody wants to do something. If somebody wanted to sell the property and build apartments, they could. So we're just making sure that that stays designated for a mobile home park as a use.
Okay, so nothing's getting sold, no one's.
Correct. No votes this evening, and there's still opportunity to provide comment. So I would recommend too, if you don't want to speak this evening, if you have particular concern that you want to make sure something either stays in the plan or gets removed from the plan, please submit that as soon as possible to our city clerk. So that the council and planning commission can take it into consideration.
Awesome, thank you.
With that, looks like we don't have anyone to provide testimony, so we'll move on to our sign code update. And we'll go ahead and open public hearing, and then we'll have Troy Davis, our senior planner, present.
Great. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Troy Davis. I'm the Senior Planner with the City of Duval. I'm here tonight to talk about the limited sign code update to our sign code regulations in DMC Chapter 14.50. We could share this. Just the next slide. Perfect. So timeline that we're looking at here. So this actually came up at the end of 2024. We were looking at our sign code regulations because we needed to provide signage for our new city parks. And come to find out, parks and open space were not a listed zone that allowed signs in our sign code. So we had no legal way to say, hey, let's put in a sign for this park. And so we realized, hey, we need to change that, get that updated so that we can have new beautiful signs in our parks, especially as we give them names. So that was the impetus that began this limited update. So, oh, and sorry, I need to back up a little bit. I do want to formally enter exhibits 1 through 9 as enumerated in the staff report into the record. Exhibit 9, which is the planning commission meeting minutes, came in after the packet was distributed, and that's just simply due to a timing alignment. We had the public hearing on the 28th with the planning commission, and so getting those notes and everything into your packet on time was a little bit difficult when the timeline is real short, but I just wanted to make sure that was clear. So again, the requested action tonight is going to be the limited update to the sign code in relation to allowing signage within our parks and open space zone. The review process, of course, is a type 6 legislative decision. So of course, City Council is the final decision maker on this following a recommendation from the Planning Commission. The planning commission did provide a recommendation of approval at their May 28th planning commission meeting. Permit processing, again, signage and processing. Actually, for sign permits, it's actually regulated under 1450. It's a slightly different process in 1408, which covers our general permit processing. Excuse me, we did issue a SEPA DNS under environmental review for the proposed updates. DNS just means the determination of non-significance. So this isn't anticipated to have extensive environmental impacts to the city. We did receive just a general comment from the Snoqualmie tribe. Just not in any specific concern, which is a general statement of becoming a party of record. Public hearings, again, were 28th was before the planning commission, and tonight is before the city council. There is no statutory deadline for this. However, again, just the only urgency, of course, is for our own benefit, which is being able to put signs in our public parks in a legal manner. So we did send the Department of Commerce as required by state statute for 60-day review. That timeline for their review expired on June 20th. We did not receive any comments from the Department of Commerce. Next slide, please. So again, just to reiterate, Public Works is in the process of creating a new master sign plan for our park facilities, which is really exciting. That way we have consistency throughout our park system. We don't end up with different design signs, and we have kind of a uniform look of signage. It makes it easy for the public to recognize. Again, as mentioned, it also does not address parks and open space signage. This update also includes some other minor tweaks. Part of this makes it simpler for city signage to occur. Sometimes we have temporary signs that advertise, events that may happen. We've got wayfinding signage that we may want to utilize in public rights of way to direct the public to where our parks are. And so we've added some clarification in our code to allow for that. Again, the same with the permit process. We wanted to make sure that the permitting process internally was sufficient for city facilities. And not for the drug out process. So again, next slide, please. As you'll note through the through the draft code language, you'll notice all these little tiny changes. They're mostly just all technical cleanups. They're not substantive, except for the language relating to signage within our public facilities and parks and open space zones. And yes, I already mentioned master sign plan. And next slide, please. And this is just a snippet from your packet. Every time we do code amendments, we try to do a strike through and delete so that you can see what the literal changes are and how they look inside the code. We also include a clean version, just because I know the strike and delete can be a little bit of a headache, but it's a nice reference to have as you're reviewing that. So as you can see in the chart, we're adding parks and open space in there that was absent. We're striking out the Riverview zoning district with is obsolete. And again, the X's in those columns designate that the use is allowed. So anyway, next slide, please. So again, tonight is the public hearing to take any public testimony regarding this signage update, and later have a discussion and hopefully the recommendation is from the planning commission. Their recommendation, as I mentioned before, was that they are recommending approval of these proposed limited updates. And then again, just to reiterate, we will have another limited code update coming forward for you down the road. And those conversations will be forthcoming, but just want to put that bug in your ear. But anyway, that concludes my presentation on the hearing tonight.
Thank you. It appears we do not have anyone signed in for public comment on this hearing either. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to provide public comment this evening?
I need to say something about or something different before to the down project.
I'm sorry, so I feeling like kid, but I'm scared to fill out my health.
Okay,
But I have a question about that.
okay, we cannot answer questions in general during our meetings. But if you can send in your question about projects to our city clerk, we can make sure that you get your answers. So thank you. I apologize. It's a business meeting, so we have to keep to the format.
I see. Yeah. Just, my question is really quick, just because I don't know, understand what's going on because I live in a mobile home. And I worry about it because the first meeting, I'm there is something really different to right now. That's why I'm a little bit confused.
I think I will ask our staff to go,
I'm
you can
going to
ask some questions.
personally. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and close the Pine Cove public hearing. And move on to existing business. First up is Agenda Bill 25-23, Development Agreement Amendment for Duval Village for decision. Would any council members like to make a motion on this? Councilmember Bethel?
Yeah, I move to recommend approval of the proposed amendment one to the development agreement between the city of Duval, Paragon Duval, and KDS, LLC as drafted in the development amendment number one.
Second. Great. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Schaefer?
I know I said this last meeting, but I guess I'm gonna repeat myself, son of a bit like a broken record. First of all, I do appreciate the value of this development to Duval. From tax revenue, that's certainly going to be good for the city. And hopefully also the services that these businesses provide to Duval. The reason I can't support this is again, because of the 2015 fee levels on it. My understanding is this the value of about $400,000 and does not actually cover the cost to the city itself, and therefore the taxpayers of Duval will be subsidizing this development. Which I believe is not the right thing to do. Along with that, I have two questions, or a question and a follow-up question, if I may. First question, and I did talk to Laura a bit about this, but I really want to mention it, and I did get a definite answer from her. Here's my question: can the developer change their mind about the commercial aspect of this and build all residential? The reason I'm asking that question is because that's what Polk Brothers did to us. I don't want to see a repeat of that here.
City Administrator, now would you like to address that as well as the Toll Brothers question?
I don't want to address the Toll Brothers question because that's not pertinent to this topic. We can address Toll Brothers at another time. So Director Lanishevsky, it might be helpful for you to jump in if I don't cover everything. So in your packet, Director Lanishevsky and I put together some documentation that shows the benefit of this agreement to the city. And it reflects in the slide deck that we prepared the difference between what the 2015 rates on the older existing plan would have generated in terms of fees to the city, what the new plan will generate in terms of development fees for the city, and then alternatively, what will happen if this deal falls apart. Oh, thank you for bringing it up. That helps to have it in front of me because I don't have any of my documents in front of me. If we can move to the next slide. Okay, there we go. So this document here reflects the old development agreement requirements, and it shows what the total intake fees would have been at that time at 2015 rates, which were $273,647. The first proposal that came in, which is different than this active proposal we have right now, would be total intake fees of $273,000, so no change there. The active proposal you have here will bring in total intake fees of over $1 million. Now, if this proposal goes dead, there is an alternative with a dead development agreement. Now, not all of it would be converted into residential, but a good percentage of it will. So we will not get the commercial benefit that we will get if we allow the active proposal to go. So it's a risk. We don't know for sure that, you know, this is going to happen, but we did do the math to reflect what we will lose if we don't build under this active proposal. So Steve, do you want to chime in? Steve helpfully did the math here, so, and he's much better explaining math than I am. So I'll turn it over to him.
Sure. So to answer the first question, or the question, no, they cannot just build single family. The single family is a bonus in a sense to this commercial element of this commercial parcel. So that was the question you had. And then to City Administrator McNabb's notes, if this dies, the 1.4 plus acres diverts to a commercial parcel. Then it can get chopped up at 75% residential, only 25% commercial, which is the third column, which shows you would only really be required for an applicant to provide 3,100 square feet of commercial. And then they could also do 13 single-family dwellings on that parcel. So I know the question last meeting was raised like, oh, how much are we losing? Well, 400 grand, but you're losing a lot more than that in the potential for the aggregation of commercial space with small units, which Duval doesn't have on the second and third floors of the commercial. So the other elements of the contract that were discussed at council, the 4 points were added after discussions with the applicant, including the construction permit picked up by December 26, 2026, making sure they apply for their building permit and construction permit with 120 days of notice of decision. And then if permits are not picked up by December 17, 2026, the project will lose its vesting and go back to losing its policies. And then, you know, it sits until it sells. And then the risk of something much smaller in commercial size coming is much higher. But those are the 4 notes that we have for you. So
Should add that the applicant and the architect that worked with us were very amenable following the last council meeting to make the requested changes. The council had to put a little more teeth into this amendment. So from the city administration perspective, well, I thank them for moving quickly and being amenable to the changes that were asked.
Thank you, City Administrator. Councilmember Schaefer, now your follow-up question?
Yeah, thank you. Follow-up question, now I'm gonna put this vaguely, and hopefully you guys can help answer it still. When does the developer actually have skin in the game? When do they start construction? When do they break ground? When do these are not all different questions, but when do they actually have to start spending money on this development? Is that in December or some other day?
So, not to be flippant, but they've started spending money. They've been through 3 iterations that we know of on the parcel. So they're spending soft costs and have been. But item 3, so permits need to, or item 2, picking up building permits by December 26, 2026. As soon as they pick them up, they call their pre-con and then they are able to start construction. They
And I would
have
also
to
add
finish.
oh, sorry, Steve.
They have and city engineers here. Once they pick up their permit, they have a year and a half.
Yes,
A
18
year and a
months.
half to complete it, or it expires itself. So they have 18 months to build once they pick up their permit, and then they pay their fees at time of building permit pickup.
Okay, thank you.
And I
We're
think
now
it's important to add too, that we sent earlier today a written comment from the architect to city council explaining the delays in the project, but also the many rounds of reviews that they've already engaged in and the associated costs with that to get this project put together even to a place where we could present it today as an amendment to the development agreement.
Thank you. Councilmember Nethlen, and then we have Mayor Pro Tem Mercer.
Yeah, I'm just still kind of trying to understand the amount of residential square footage versus commercial that's allowed on a commercial lot. I guess I was thinking that would need to be a mixed use type designation, but this is Main Street, commercial. And so is this true, all of Main Street, that you only have to build very little commercial and you could have it be primarily residential?
Larissa Grandal for the record, no, not necessarily. There's floor to air ratio. So there's a developability of any parcel that's designated commercial. And then in the commercial zone, Troy could also help too. In the commercial zone, you're allowed to put, residential on top of it. So it's, yes, the first floor is required to be commercial, no matter what.
Because it says ground floor unit, so I think that's what surprised me. It says alternative with dead development agreement, it's ground floor unit. And so I guess when I was in my mind, I was thinking ground floor residential, but you're saying the ground floor units would be all commercial, 100% commercial.
I can have.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So it's a little bit tricky in our code. So in properties that are strictly zoned commercial, just CO, you can only do vertical mixed use. So that means all ground floor development has to be strictly commercial. And you can do residential units above. What's unique about this parcel is it's zoned mixed use. And so that concept allows for what's called horizontal mixed use. And so again, if the development agreement dies, like Steve was saying, they can then do ground floor residential on 7% of that lot. And only 25% of that lot would have to be strictly commercial. And even on that strictly commercial 25%, they can still do vertical mixed use. You don't get even more residential. So yeah, so essentially, again, if the development agreement dies and it defaults just strictly back to the underlying zoning designation of mixed use, they can do horizontal mixed use with ground floor residential units.
Okay, so.
Okay, Councilmember Natalie, you asked a question and a follow-up. It's now Mayor Pro Tem Mercer's turn.
So, I vented a little at the last meeting, and that was less around specifically this developer's proposal, and I think a little more of the end state, the duration of which this project has gone. I think, I appreciate staff and the developer connecting to incorporate the language into the agreement. I think that goes sort of a long way toward middle of the ground between outright denying and then obviously putting some guardrails, I guess. But to me, I think this is less of a question, more just state my position on this as part of the discussion, is that I see both the design of the project as aligning with what we want to do in the city, and we've discussed, from an appeal perspective, but also creating the commercial zone space. But I think beyond that, the developers already made significant investments. I think the architect's letter sort of reinforces that the multiple design reviews to get the aesthetic right, to work with staff to come up with an ideal proposal. And then beyond that, the fact that they actually asked for the extension where that flexibility to build more residential versus the commercial residential mix that is presented here is it would actually be easier if they hadn't asked for the extension. So beyond the fee perspective. So in my perspective, I think that, looking at this from sort of good faith and the intent and knowing it's a smaller development that's already developer who've already made a significant monetary investment, I'm sort of in favor of approving the proposal that the staff presented for today's.
All right, Councilmember Henry and then Councilmember Supple.
Yeah, those are good points. And, I appreciate the concerns. I know there's a long history on this property and it can be frustrating and it feels like things get, drug out. But, talking with Main Street business owners, I've been told we need more shops. We need more commercial space built out. And I know there's a Main Street business owner sitting at this table. So I won't speak totally for them, but I mean, that's what I've been told is that realization that, it's not so much competition, it's building up the local economy here and it makes their shops more successful because it creates more foot traffic. But I totally hear the points that have been brought up, and they're valid. I just, for me, I'm in favor of this. I think this is a really unique chance to also get, some housing there as well. I mean, I think it would be a really good project. I feel the community would enjoy having more shops on that end of town to start connecting in.
Thank you, Councilmember, and Councilmember Supple.
Yeah, I really don't see any downside to this proposal. I mean, we've been waiting 10 years to develop, at least 10 years to develop this property. Extending it another 3 years, I think is a good thing to do.
I appreciate the work that was put into that because brings out more numbers. At the last council meeting, the $400,000 just kind of stuck in everybody's mind. I think that was kind of a red herring, whereas this kind of brings out the potential revenues from the development of this property. So I'm definitely in favor of this.
We haven't heard, okay, go ahead, Councilmember Bowman.
Yeah, I'm also in support of this. I think it's important that we're satisfying some of the growth needs of our community. We're adding commercial businesses, we're adding smaller housing units, all of which are important. We're adding jobs, likely, as part of this too. And so I think that's all important. And I think the developer has shown good faith. I think it was important for us as a city to set precedent and say, no, we can't just continue to extend. And so I think it's important that we added some teeth, but I think that into the agreement itself, but I think that the developer is okay with those teeth, shows that they're also in favor of moving forward, want to get this done. So I think, yeah, in good faith, this is a good thing.
Thank you. Councilmember Kukal, did you want to make comments or questions?
I would just agree that, being able to see the chart and the work that Cynthia and Steve worked to get this together for us, it shows that it's not really stuff of 2015 rates, it's substantially more. And, we waited this long. They're working in good faith, and it looks like they put a lot of work to get it to this point, and we need to just let them do it.
Council ready to take a vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
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 Okay, let the record reflect Councilmember Naplan and Councilmember Schaefer voted no. Moving on to Agenda Bill 25-25, the 6-year transportation and improvement plan. Would Councilmember like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the 25-year transfer or the 6-year transportation plan.
Second.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Moving on to discussion on the 2024 comprehensive plan amendments. I know that this has been talked about quite a bit within council. Does council have any questions for our staff tonight? Are you ready to continue to wait for that planning commission recommendation and move forward? I'm seeing head nods of the waiting for planning commission to move forward. So we will go ahead and move on to Agenda Bill 25-16, sign code update. Would a council member like to make a motion?
So moved.
But we have to actually.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I think we approved Bill 25-16, sign code update.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Moving on to Agenda Bill 25-18, accessory dwelling units policy. Would a council member like to make a motion?
I move to approve the ordinance amending DMC 1448 accessory dwelling units, DMC 14.06 definitions, and DMC 14.12-18 zoning designations.
Second. Great. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Schaefer.
Let's see. So first of all, I appreciate all the work that has gone into this. I know it's been kind of a long haul. I know there's been, some heated discussion regarding this. The latest revision where it takes away the incentives is actually going to get my support. Primarily, the latest revision really just reflects the state regulations, which is something we have to abide with no matter what. So I've actually changed my well, not really changed my mind, but I actually support this now because we have eliminated those incentives. So
Thank you, Councilmember Schaefer. Anyone else? Councilmember Naplan.
I provided several questions and edits, and I don't see them anywhere, and I never got answers to my questions.
Okay, so the procedures are to bring them forward, and if council agrees with those edits, then they would be included. So I'll leave that to the city administrator now. I do not recall actually seeing any come to me. So if I don't know who they were sent to, and
I sent them to you, and then you were angry that I sent them. because-
Councilmember Nagland, please don't assign emotions to anyone. That is inappropriate behavior in this meeting. So if that was probably quite a while ago. I will let City Administrator McNabb address this then.
Hi, good evening. So in terms of questions, I believe at one point we did receive questions from council, particularly regarding the eave to roof issue. And I'm going to speak in a totally unintelligible way because it is not my my expertise. We went through fairly detailed links to make sure in the last presentation, as well as in the packet information tonight, that we fully explained the issue of the eave height. And we believe we answered all of the questions that we received. Now, we didn't edit to my knowledge, we didn't edit the proposed ordinance based on any comments that staff received, but we did answer every question that we documented receiving with regard to ADUs in the council packet information, as well as in Director Thomas's presentation last meeting.
Chief Administrator McNabb, and I would just also would like to remind council of the council procedures and that your packet comes out. We have until Monday at a deadline set to submit any amendments or questions prior to the council meeting. It has been well known for a couple of months now that this policy is on final approval for this evening. It is up to council if you'd like to entertain any amendments to this. However, it's gone through the planning commission process and we're at the final time for this. And there has been continued to be several weeks in between each meeting to have proposed amendments to council and ask council to support that. Councilmember Napling, you may follow up with your second question.
I sent this in on May 5th. Okay, and on May 5th, I sent questions. I sent some potential edits saying, I'm not really sure if this is possible. I'd like us to consider it. And the response back was, oh, you're too close to a meeting. You know, it's very rude of you to even send this. And my response back was, it's actually not on the agenda until later. So this is actually giving staff plenty of time to review my potential edits and review my questions.
Okay, so
and then it said, hang on. And then at the next meeting, when, you know, it wasn't on the agenda, I brought it up and said, hey, I had sent this email and I just want to make sure that, you know, it will be considered by staff. And I sent it also to Mayor Pro Tem. And so now it sounds like no one has seen my potential edits. And maybe staff didn't review them. I sent them a month in advance and I was very clear that these were my suggestions and my questions. And I sent them way in advance. And so now I'm super confused about why they were not reviewed, why we're not talking about my edits, because I tried to follow the procedure and I even gave an entire meeting extra in advance so that I wouldn't get a last minute, oh, we aren't even going to look at yours unless the rest of council agrees. So I was trying to give myself plenty of time to follow procedure so that my possible edits could be considered. So I'm super confused why they weren't included in.
Okay, let's let Councilmember or City Administrator McNabb respond, and then I do have something to say to that, because this packet did come out last Thursday. This could have been addressed over the weekend and long before today. City Administrator McNabb.
Yeah, I want to make sure that what I'm saying is clear in terms of what the city did in response to Councilmember Naplin's email. The city did receive questions and propose edits. We didn't provide a point-by-point response because Director Thomas in her presentation last meeting, as well as in the packet today, addressed what was legal and what wasn't. Some of the recommended changes were not allowed by state law. So from city's staff perspective, we addressed potential edits because some of them simply were not allowed and they were reviewed by our city attorney. And then others, in terms of the questions, we addressed in the written documentation that city staff spent a significant amount of time preparing in response to the ADU issue.
Councilmember Napland, you are done at this point.
Never received
Councilmember Napland.
responses to my questions and.
Councilmember Napland, you need to recess, please. We're going to take a recess at this point. Councilmember Napland, you need to follow. All right, council has resumed. We have a motion on the floor. Did council have any further questions? After the first round of questions or comments, or were you ready to call the question and take the vote?
I have a point of information.
Go ahead.
Were there? It's a point for Councilmember Napland. Were there specific points of information that you were seeking in your request? That were pertinent to making a decision that were not addressed within the presentation or otherwise asked?
You can't ask questions of a council member.
I can do that, okay.
You can't ask directly of a council member. You have to ask questions of the chair.
Okay, so I'm not sure how to phrase that, but a point of information is supposed to be to call forward information that may be pertinent to making a decision.
Correct.
And it seems like there is question as to whether some of that information may be missing. And I would call that information forward somehow.
Okay, so City Administrator McNabb did address that in her response, and we can have her restate that response. And I can say it looks like, and I will say as point of information, the last email I received, it looks like from Councilmember Napland on this subject was on a quick look, looks like the first week of May. So Councilmember or City Administrator McNabb, please proceed.
Yes, so city staff received a communication regarding questions on various topics related to ADUs, as well as proposed changes. Those questions and changes were reviewed both by Director Thomas as well as our city attorney, globally, but also specifically to the question of eave height. We took a look at those questions, took a look at the comments, and we addressed them in our minds in the preparation of materials for the Planning Commission, Director Thomas's last presentation at the last council meeting, as well as a material, fairly extensive agenda bill and presentation information that was in this packet this week. We are not aware of any questions where staff didn't address the substance of the issue, though potentially we missed something. But from our mind, I know Director Thomas looked through the questions that we received rather extensively.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mercer.
So, I guess I want to direct saying to the chair and then sort of my recommendation, because I was included on this email as well. I was also operating under the same sort of assumption. The mail came onto the 5th. It was actually distributed to all of council because there was a response about do not reply all. So all of council saw the entire thread. And my perspective was that Director Thomas did address it because the broader discussion around the ADU, we sort of evolved off of the initial topic around clarifying roof height and what the different options are, just basically adhering to the standards. And then there was agreement across sort of council that was the direction that we move forward. There was alignment from the recommendation from Planning Commission along those same lines. And so I think, as was mentioned earlier this evening, the actual motion is primarily choosing to adopt state standards without a lot of amendments. So I'm in favor of sort of moving forward with this approach. I do think when we revisit the code more broadly, there are opportunities to amend and adjust, but that was essentially for this ADU specific topic, my recollection of where we landed.
All right, Councilmember McHenry.
So, any council member, we have a motion on the table.
Yeah.
Any council member can propose an amendment. And so there is a pathway here. If there are proposed changes, here are the city administrator's response that much of that was addressed in some way. And hopefully that if there's an amendment proposed that goes against something, as she was saying, that wouldn't be allowed, that they're listening closely and would let us know that. But to me, that's the pathway forward. You know, if there's a council member who wants to propose amendments, I mean, we've got a motion on the table.
Correct. Councilmember Naplan, are you proposing an amendment or, we haven't gone through the first round of everyone in the room either. So if you have something that is not an amendment, I'm going to ask you to withhold your comments until the rest of council has the opportunity to speak to the motion on the floor.
I need to make a comment.
No, Councilmember Naplan, the structure and the council procedures are everyone gets to ask a question and follow-up questions, which at times is 2 questions in a row. Then the opportunity for every other council member to speak is provided. And then council may have a second round. Council can also choose to call the question and take a vote immediately instead of moving forward. And that is also council's call. So would any other council members like to speak to this motion? Councilmember Sepple.
Yeah, I have no objection to the proposal as stated in the motion.
All right, any other council members that haven't spoken to this?
I agree with Councilmember Shuttle. I have no objections to it as written up.
Okay, Councilmember Naplan, you may ask a question or make a statement to the motion on the floor, but nothing outside of that.
No, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. At the last meeting, it was very clear that I had outstanding
Point of order.
questions.
Point of order. You.
I'm making a comment.
Councilmember
You
Naplan.
do not get to restrict
This
what
is-
I'm allowed
this
to
is
say. I'm making
repetitive.
a comment on what is before us.
It is repetitive.
No,
and
it's not.
It is.
It is not.
You just mentioned
No.
that you were going to speak to something before.
No.
City Attorney Ray, can you please address this? And council, you are also welcome to call the question, which is shut this debate down right now. And force the motion, force the vote right now, if you would like to do so.
I think we need to remember what was said at the last council
City
meeting.
Attorney Ray.
So technically, a point of order would be brought by a member of the governing body. And yeah, I think the question for the council, if Councilmember Naplan has already spoke twice,
I've
is
spoken once.
has she
Councilmember Naplan, please do not argue with the city attorney. That's inappropriate.
I can speak for myself, and if she's only spoken once, then Councilmember Naplan should have a chance to speak a second time. And then once that has occurred, it's up to the council to either vote on the motion, vote to table the motion, or vote to extend discussion for additional opportunities to speak.
Go ahead, Councilmember.
Okay. At the last council meeting, I was hoping we would talk about these items because it was finally on the agenda again. At that time, we were told, when I said, hey, are we gonna go over my suggested edits? Because the process is we send in edits and then we go over them one by one. Staff reviews the edits, determines whether they're legal, not legal. Can you do this? Can you not? We never did that. So during the last meeting, what was presented to us was really just, oh, here's what planning commission said, and now we're having it be reviewed by Commerce or something. And so this isn't the time for us to look at new edits because we already are going to send what planning commission did. So anything will need to occur at the next meeting. We'll review the edits that you suggested at the meeting tonight. And so that was my understanding, is that at the last meeting, they were just wrapping up what had been finished at planning commission, and they weren't going to introduce new edits because it had to go to Commerce. So if my edits were going to have to be considered tonight. And so that was my understanding. And when I didn't see them in the packet, I was confused, but in my experience, what's been happening is my questions don't get answered in the packet. They get answered during the presentation. So I was expecting that the presentation, we would go over the council, the edits that I suggested. That was, I asked all through this, what is the process? I want to follow the process. Here are my edits. Did I get them in time? I did. Did I remind and say, hey, is this the time? No, it wasn't the time that night. It's the time tonight. And now tonight, I'm told my edits were already considered, and somehow there was, I never received any information that my edits somehow weren't legal or weren't able to be done. I mean, when do I get staff support? It's so confusing to me, where I tried to request edits, very thoughtful. I worked very hard at this, looking at what other cities did, considering, you know, what I think our community values.
So can I have a follow-up?
Point of order, because state your point, Mayor Pro Tem Mercer.
I think my point of order here is that there have been two options presented. We can sort of table a motion or we can have a discussion on the issue. What I'm not hearing here is a discussion of the issue. I'm hearing a discussion of the process. And so that's my point of order.
And point of order is well taken. We will continue to move on unless council has objections to.
I was
the
still
point of order being
continuing
well
on my
taken.
comment. I didn't know we had a time limit.
Councilmember Naplan, a point of order was called. I properly addressed that point of order as chair, and council does not have any other objections. So unless there are any other comments, I would like to help council to what their stated goal is, and that is to take a vote on this motion. Council, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to our final agenda item, Agenda Bill 25-27, Personnel Manual and Updates to Duval Municipal Code, Chapter 4 for decision. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve Agenda Bill 2527 Personnel Manual and Updates to Duval Municipal Code, Chapter 4.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. No. Motion passes with one no. And with that, I want to thank City Administrator McNabb for the extraordinary work on pulling together these changes to the personnel policies and manual. Looking forward to the code updates. This has been a 10-year, we are not adjourned yet. This is a 10-year process approximately in getting to this point. And thank you so much for your dedication and work to ensure that we are on the up and up and abiding to the current HR policies, et cetera. So thank you, City Administrator McNabb, for all of that. With that, the council is adjourned. Council, I would like to have a discussion about this at our next meeting in executive session, please.